Hello, welcome back to Andromeda. I know it's been a while since my last update. It's been over 2 months. Um, but I wanted to say I have been working on it almost every single day since then. There's been a lot of new features, but mostly I'm sort of starting the push to make this game into what it'll be in the final version. So I will show it off for you, starting from a brand new game. We start out in the player's new house. You'll notice I'm using all new tile sets. Recently I've been trying to stop using copyrighted graphics because I can't release the game with copyrighted graphics. So I've started redoing a lot of the monsters and the levels to get them in their final form. This is the player's little house in which he starts out. You can see he's just lives in a little cove. He's got a big garden there. Still working out the storyline, but I suspect he'll find something interesting in his garden that will lead him over to the College of Magic and eventually get him started on the storyline. He's got a little cellar down here. It's a little puzzle. You can figure out how to get in and get that treasure chest. I'm not going to spoil it for now. He's got a save location in his bedroom for some reason. But if we go out and explore the world, we can see that now this is maybe the most central level where the wizarding school actually is. It's got a little nameplate and giving things sort of a moon theme to them. Deimos is possibly a moon of Venus or Saturn, maybe? No idea. And if we go inside, this is the new school. It might be tweaked a little more. I'm not loving everything about it. There's a few new features for dialogue too. Let's see. For instance, I have the ability to give people options in order to make decisions. So we can choose what to fight in the beginning. This is not going to be the final slime graphic. You'll see the slimes outside look a little different. They don't have eyes. They're a little smaller. That might be the eventual final slime. For now, this was just something that I could freely use. I had to get rid of the Final Fantasy graphics that I had in place there. Let's see. So, I have to go kill a couple more things, get my non-elemental magic up to level 2. So yes, these are possibly the new slimes. I want to animate them a little more, but otherwise I'm sort of okay with them. They're a little bit nameless, faceless, because they literally don't have faces. Let's find, there's some more. This starting spell has been redone a little bit too to be more useful. Let's check out this cave. Oh, it's very dark. There's a note that I can read. And I'm trying to make more natural barriers to progression in the game. So, for instance, this cave, the whole thing stopping you from really exploring it more is just that it's a little too dark to see. If you look very carefully, there's 5% light in this cave. So you could kind of go deeper and get some valuable stuff out of it. And I have one more location up here. Also a natural barrier to progress. If we go into this cave, we have like a little earth golem type guy who is spawning poison clouds like you've seen from one of the bosses if you've seen the previous videos, but there's nothing we can do to him at the moment. He keeps casting right underneath us as this whole strategy. And we would just run through, but we can see it's some rocks in place that presumably would be cleared out once you're able to kill this guy. Also, been trying to make status effects more into particle effects. So this is when you get poisoned, you can actually see poisonous vapors coming off of you. And at some point I'm going to load a save file that has more spell schools sort of further along. You'll notice a glitch there with the slime. I have to fix their bounding boxes a little bit. But you'll see almost all buffs now, and debuffs are actual particle effects instead of just outlines. So now that I can cast Magic Missile, this guy gets me to do it, and then gives me the option of the type of magic I'd like to have next. So let's do lightning, because in these videos you haven't seen it before. New spell school. I might rework the opening spell here. There you go. Now I have electricity magic, which I'm just going to rename it to lightning magic at some point. And it looks, oh wait, no, it looks like this if I hit the right button. It does pretty good damage. It also wanders around sort of randomly and makes it tough to hit things at times. Like that. So I've headed off to the east, and I'm really just showing you the areas with new content. We'll see that these are more of the blue slimes, but also some mushrooms that I can legally use because I purchased the art. Can't legally redistribute. Oh, getting caught in a corner here. There we go. And I should have gotten the next lightning spell. Yes. Which is probably the best looking of the bunch. This one. Still a lot of randomness to it, but it hits a bigger arc, so it'll probably hit most of the things that you're aiming at in front of you, and it can strike multiple times. The more spell power it has, the more individual bolts that you'll get out of it. So it definitely ramps up over time. I'm noticing that hitbox more and more. The reason that you're seeing a little bit of the enemies come through is because all this stuff down here at the bottom has a little bit of a lip to it, so you can kind of hide behind it. And that's what the enemies are doing, but due to the way that I'm faking 3D-ness, they're popping through a little bit. Yep. You'll also notice that there's a little indicator above my character that shows what I'm doing. Random drop, that's useful. That's because it wasn't obvious, I think, when people had completed inputs for things. And so I wanted to make it a lot more visual so they could tell exactly what they're casting at any given moment. And I think it definitely adds a little clarity. It helped me diagnose one or two control issues that were causing people to miscast when they weren't intending to. And if you notice here, there's a treasure chest sitting down below to tempt you to figure out how the heck do you get to that. Looks like everything's blocked off. But of course, I'm just using deception here because there's nothing except perspective keeping you from walking through this area and through here and getting to that treasure chest. I probably have to detune this spell, but I think it's maybe the best one at this point still. Just your starting spell. So I have to figure out, these mushrooms should really just be sitting idle until you find them. But it seems like enemies, when you get too far from them, are just sort of sitting in the corner, chilling. I don't know why. Okay. Well, this don't mess with you too much. So there you go. Got a nice hat out of it. One that you've probably seen before. I've also imposed a penalty on whenever you're casting, you just lose about 20% move speed. And that's just to encourage people to not constantly start recasting as soon as they've finished casting their previous spell. I wanted there to be enough of a cost to everything so that you have to make a conscious decision and understand that there's trade-offs to constantly charging up your magic. And then this is the same old town to which you're accustomed. Nothing too crazy there. I guess the other big thing I wanted to show off was the way that self-buffs work now. So I'm going to change over to this character, who's my development character, starts out with more magic levels and everything. So haste, if you remember before, used to be a red outline. Now it's this little bit of little bits of fire just sort of coming off of you in the back. But you'll also see on the top left that my spell power bar used to go all the way across. Now it's got this gray section to it, and that is mana which is being reserved in order for me to be hasted. So it used to be that haste just lasted 15 seconds or so, And it was such a powerful spell that anytime you had a free second, it was worth it to cast it. But I decided that it's sort of arduous to constantly have to recast, and it'd be easier just to be able to turn it on and off by casting it. So if it's already cast when I do it, then it's taken off of you, and then when you cast it again, it comes back. And depending on how much spell power you have when you cast it, you get a greater effect. So this is a very minimal amount of haste. Doesn't look like I'm really running that much faster. If I uncast it and then redo it again at full spell power, then I'm noticeably faster, but it's also taking up about twice the mana that it was before. And that lowers my total cap for what I can cast. I can do the same thing with Water Shield, which now looks like this. I'm super excited about this particle effect, but now I can see my mana bar is getting really short. My fireballs are a little bit dinkier. And then there's another, I can show you Static Shield is the new buff spell in the Lightning Tree. This one's reserved almost all of my mana by itself. You can see the little static effects that happen. Oh, this is the new treant, which is legally used. So this buff, while taking up almost my entire mana bar, also sends out shocks to anything that's close enough. The wolf artwork is a little different too. Also totally legal. I haven't replaced the Venus flytraps yet with legal artwork. And slow is not yet a particle effect. But so, same thing here, I can cast my other buffs. This might put me at basically 0 spell power remaining. Let's go hit something with this and see how little damage it does. I haven't even been able to hit him with this. 10. Yeah. That's that max spell power, which is almost nothing. Yeah. So let me take that off because it's taking up all my mana. And now even light has become the same thing. So if I cast the light spell out in the middle of the day, it's very bright. But once I go inside somewhere dark, you can see that it makes it easier to see rather than more difficult, as in this case. And also reserves a certain amount of mana. And if I do the math right, you shouldn't be able to reserve more mana than you have available, because casting a very weak version of a buff reserves less mana and should incrementally get you closer and closer to having 0 max mana when you have a lot of buffs applied. But at least it gives you a playstyle where you can work towards items that add focus, which adds your maximum spell power, and basically run around and not cast a lot of spells yourself, but be very buffed up in the process. So that's where I am right now. Next goals are to really sort of develop the storyline a little more, get the player up to speed, force them into following the storyline, at least initially, and guide them to the tutorials, and then also just replacing more of the old levels with brand new levels with the legal artwork and with all the locations mapped out a little more. So thank you for watching, and I will update the next time I have something worth updating.